Another Tisha B'Av. Another year, another Tisha B'Av. For the last number of years, I did a schmooze in Camp Dora Golding for the older campers, for the staff members. It's not a schmooze I want to give. It's not something I ever prepare for. I don't want to be doing this. But I feel, based on the people who asked me after Shabbos, if I could do this again for them, I'm going to do it again. I was once on the way down to go give the shmooze, and I got a text from a Talmud. And he texted me, "Do you have any good ideas how to cry?" I texted him back, onions. This was COVID year. And he couldn't think of one reason to cry. After, who knows how many people lost their lives during COVID, how many yeshivas were shot, how many shuls were closed, we couldn't go daven with a minyan. And he couldn't think of one reason to cry. Not one. Last year, we were in camp again, but there was one attendee missing. His name was Donnie Morris, who lost his life in Meron. The boys there figured out a reason to cry. They didn't have a hard time shedding a tear. And now in 2022, with all the luxuries that we have, can we find within us a reason to cry? Do we have to spell it out? The Gemara says that somebody who's misabel on Yerushalayim, somebody who mourns Yerushalayim, he'll be zeicha v'roya b'simchasa. He'll be zeicha to see it in simcha. He'll be zeicha. It's such an amazing thing. But the lashon of the Gemara is interesting. Say yizke v'yira. You will see it. You will be zeicha to see it. Why zeicha v'roya? That's now. The answer is because the halacha is when a person loses a loved one, le'aleinu. The halacha is Galus is for 12 months. After 12 months, it's nishkach min aleif. It's halacha. After 12 months, it's forgotten. We observe every year on a yard site. But the Avelis is over. But now we're observing Dini Avelis. We're Avelim. But it happened so long ago. Yeah. It happened so long ago. But we're Avelim. Therefore, it's still now. We're still losing it now. It's like because the Beis HaMikdash is still here being destroyed. Every year it's not being rebuilt, it's being destroyed. It's not Nishkach Min Alev. Where else could you find such a thing that we're still being misabo on Yerushalayim? I was able to spend 3 years in Yerushalayim, to live there, to learn there, to teach there. I remember a fellow came over to me at Isha Torah, and he asked me, "Rabbi, can I ask you a question? I'm reading up about the destruction of Yerushalayim. I see in Nachim, it's a Hashamim, right? It's abandoned, it's torn down, it's destroyed. Habezuya. But look around Yerushalayim, it's all built, it's all great. Go up the streets, it's built up, Israel's being rebuilt. How can we still be having Tisha B'Av? How can we still be having Nachim?" I said, because one thing in there is still true. The Habezuya is still true. They find ways to mavaza Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh. You imagine Yerushalayim be Mechal Shabbos? Chol Shabbos before Hesia in Yerushalayim. Could you imagine such a thing? Could you imagine when you go to the Kaisel to take a picture at the Kaisel? You realize what's behind that wall? Do we see that there's a mask behind that wall? By our Makim HaMikdash? Who would you just go as tourists take a picture in front of the wall? Thank God the outer retaining wall is still standing. The amount that we have of even the Kaisel is a fraction of what it is. If you go on top of the roof of Eshet Torah, you can see how long our bias actually is and what do we have. And even that, they're finding a way to be mavaza it, Bezuya. It's still there. You go out a few minutes outside of the old city. About the Tuma that's going on in Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. That's not a reason to cry. What I've seen guys go through in Yerushalayim, the hardships that they have, the struggles that they have. Come here to Brooklyn, come to America. How many guys are struggling? How many guys don't know basics right from wrong? How many people can't take control of their own lives? Are we not living in a churban? Baruch Hashem, we're not running for our lives 24/7. We're not living in a churban. Are we experiencing a churban right now? The amount of people who are suffering from depression. When we have everything, it's not a churban. We can't think of a reason to cry. Gemara says that when the Meraglim came back and gave their report, their Lashon Hara, Klal Yisrael cried that night for no reason. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if that's the case, don't worry. I'll be Gaveh this night. It'll be a night of crying. It'll be a night of tears. And then it was Nigzer Churban Bayis Rishon Churban Bayis Sheni Aruki Peitar Darnas Rufus. How many things have happened with Tisha B'Av? Just today, Eretz Yisrael is being bombarded by rockets. Achenu B'nai Yisrael are in danger. Can't find a reason to cry. Gemara says that what destroyed the first base of Mikdash was the Gimal Veres Chamuras, but another Gemara says that it was because they abandoned Torah. Which one was it? So obviously it was Gimal Veres Chamuras, but the Torah could have saved them. They could have been saved from it. But you know something? Second base on Mikdash, they were learning Torah. They had Torah, they had the Tanayim. But it couldn't save them from the Sinas Chinam. Hakamtu bar kamtu chav Yerushalayim. It's not just a story in history. It reoccurs every year. There's a famous song by A.B. Rattenberg called the Avos Yisrael song. And the last part of the song, he has a line there. You come and stand beside my stones and raise your voice in prayer. You ask, when will the Galus end? How much more can we bear? But sinas chinam still lives on. It lingers in your heart. How can I return to you while you remain apart? Picture a family. Picture your family. You have a simcha in your family. But one child is not at the simcha. Is that simcha complete? Is that simcha shalem? What parent wants to make such a simcha? HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to bring Mashiach. He wants to make the biggest simcha, the biggest party you'll ever see. How can I return to you when you remain apart? This is Tisha B'Av. How many people are fighting within their own kehillas? And their own kehillas fighting. Terrible, terrible machlokes. Over what? Over what? Is it really worth the Beis HaMikdash for that? Is it really worth going back to Yerushalayim, to Eretz Yisrael for that? Is it worth it? Answer me. Last week I asked my class, how many of you want Mashiach to come? I had a room of over 20 boys. I think 4 raised their hand. I asked them for reasons. The reasons did not stand. They're like, Taki, you're right. We don't want Mashiach to come. The reason we want Mashiach is a Gila Leikus B'chol Rega V'Rega. We want a Gila of Hashem in everything that we do. It's not a cute thing that the Gemara says that by the Regel, everybody had a place in the Beis HaMikdash. There was room for everyone. If you look at our bias today, it's not that big. It was not that big, the Beis HaMikdash. But yet there was room. For the hundreds of thousands of people, there was room. Huh? There's a famous story when a bunch of American philanthropists and businessmen went to Eretz Yisrael to visit Gedolim. Among them was Howard Schultz, and it's a very famous story. Howard Schultz brought the delegation to Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel Zatzal. And Rav Nosson Tzvi said, listen, you people are busy. What did we learn from the Holocaust? That's it. And they all gave their answers, never again, and Jewish survival, and could go down the list. And Rav Nosson Tzvi says, I'll tell you my answer. That 5 people could sleep with 1 blanket. What was he saying? You know how 5 people sleep with 1 blanket? Whenever the blanket's on you, you pass it to the next guy to make sure he's covered. If it's squishy, make sure somebody else has place, has a spot. In the end, Howard Schultz came back with a blank check and told Rav Nosson Tzvi, he signed it and gave it to Rav Nosson Tzvi and said you could make it out for whatever you want. At the time, the Mir's budget was about $2 million a month. Rav Nosson Tzvi could have easily written $2 million. Howard Schultz wouldn't have blinked, and he could have learned for a month. He says, whatever I want. He ordered that truck for $1,200. And he said, go across the street to this farm store, buy a pair of tefillin, and put it on every day. Rav Nosson Tzvi had a blanket. It was called Torah and Mitzvahs. And he wanted to share it with Klal Yisrael. Why does it have to be that we rally together at a time of tsar, at a time of churban? Why does it have to be like that? I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to sit on the floor anymore. Why does it have to be like that? Recently, there was events of Kavod HaTorah, Kavod Shemayim. We're on a good track, but it's Tisha B'Av again. And I'm sitting on the floor again. Not only that, this year we lost our treasure, our crown sitting in Bnei Brak, who said and learned as a Shemira for Klal Yisrael. Marat Sarah Torah. Without even giving us a chance to ask Hashem to save his life. Within seconds, within minutes. Nafla Teres Reishenu. Where's our hadracha? Chet Egel came about because we said we need a leader. We can't go on without our leader. Karach Ma'adase came along and said we don't need a leader. Well, which one is it? Are we machshiv our Abayim? Are we machshiv our Gedailim? Are we machshiv our Manhigim? Can we do more? Can we appreciate what we have? It's something so difficult. It's more than that. Can we treasure who we are? Not realizing our potential as a churban too. Not realizing how great Ham Yisrael is a churban too. Not realizing that the littlest thing you do for someone else, for yourself, is one step closer. That's not a churban. A child who's struggling, who can't stop, he can't get off his phone, he can't stop vaping on Shabbos. Is that not a churban? Do we have to put full force on these things? Do we have to give them Ahavas Chinam? Trust me, making them feel bad about it doesn't help a thing. What was the last time we walked over someone and gave him a hug for who he is? He's a Yid. He's family. He's part of the Am HaNivchar. We've gone through a lot. We've gone through a lot. And I feel that we're getting close to the finish line. We are. But every year that the Beis Hamikdash is not rebuilt is another year that it's destroyed. The Kaisel is not enough. It's not. The little bit that we have is not enough. Especially now that we have people who want to be mavazi, even that little bit that we have. It's not enough. It's not enough that we have cities, Yerushalayim, who have, cities in Eretz Yisrael, who have Chil Shabbos for Hesed. It's not enough. not. That we have a prime minister who went against everything in the Torah. That we forgot we were in Galus. We've never, ever settled for being adequate. We want to be great. We want to be amazing people. But it's hard. Life is not easy. Then we have a yeshiva, an institution that uses our name, yeshiva, and can't stop a club that goes against everything that we stand for. Is that not a churban? That uses our name, yeshiva. Somebody asked me why I'm so upset about it. I said, imagine you stood for something and you preached about it every day. You spoke about this every single day. And then what happens? Somebody puts up a sign going against that thing that you believe in. And he signs it with your name. I think you'd be outraged. Outraged. What we believe in is yeshiva. What we believe in is limud Torah. Standing up and saying Mila Hashem Elai. Is that not a churban that our yeshivas are being mefazeh? A bizayon in our yeshivas? Where they want to teach our children kol davar mushchis, kol davar aser. They want to force this down our throats. That's not a churban. That a child should be able to have the ability to say, I am something different than what HaKadosh Baruch Hu made me, and affirm that. It's not churban. Seems like we have everything. It seems like we're living in comfort. Look at the world, people. Look at the world around us. Churbanos after churbanos. We have one day a year to sit on the floor and cry about it. The 3 days that we commemorate Churban Abayis are Asar B'Teves, Shavuos B'Tammuz, and Tisha B'Av. But when I call the 15th of Nisan, I don't call it the 15th of Nisan, I call it Pesach. It has a name, it's a Yom Tiv. When I call the first day of Tishrei, it's Rosh Hashanah, it has a name, it's not the first day of Tishrei. But when it comes to the Churban, they're known by dates. Today should be called Yom HaChurban, the day the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. The word is because there's we turn into a Yom Tov. We said Echem Ekari Alai Mayir. So we know it as a Yom Tov. This is not the real day. This is not the real Avodah of today. It wasn't given to us yet, the real Avodah. So we're remembering every year that this day is going to be a Yom Tov. As I was folding my talis from Shabbos, I was thinking to myself, I wish it was Yom Tov today. I wish I was wearing my Shabbos talis again. But it's not. With the little nechama we have, is that it's just a placeholder. It's just the 9th of Av. We'll know what this day is when Mashiach comes. The nechama we have is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still sending us messages. He didn't abandon us. We're still here. When the tragedy strikes, we rally together, we daven, we say Tehillim. Sadly, that's what it takes. The fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sending us a message, which means He's still talking to us. We take the chizuk. This Tisha B'Av, take a few minutes, sit on the floor by yourself and think about what your life is going through. What your family is going through, what your friends are going through. And not necessarily you can do something about it, but at least cry about it. That's something you could do. It's one day a year to Masabel. To actually feel like I'm a novel. It'll be Zeicha. It'll be Zeicha to be as Mashiach Tzidkenu. Ben Hera v'Yameinu. Amen.